So I'm sure like a lot of other people, I've been playing the Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity demo, and boy do I love it. What a game. It's really, really awesome, and I'm really happy that they put a demo out, so that way I could kind of try before I buy. Because Nintendo does do demos, but they don't do a lot of them. I guess technically this is also Koei Tecmo, so it's not really 150% Nintendo. But man, this game is just so good. Now, I played the first Hyrule Warriors, and I really enjoyed it. I'm a huge Legend of Zelda fan. It's easily in my top 3 Nintendo franchises. I played every Zelda game in the series. I've pretty much beaten them all, and I really love Zelda. So, Hyrule Warriors, the first one, was definitely 100% an awesome game for me. I am not humongous into the Warriors franchise. I've played a few other games in it, but Hyrule Warriors definitely kind of helped me jump into Warriors games and really get more into them, which caused me to play other ones in the series. So it was a really nice bridge for me to get into it. But, I mean, you're telling me that I can play, a war game with Legend of Zelda theming tacked into it? That's just phenomenal. That's fucking great. So making a sequel, and then on top of that, actually making it a canon game to Breath of the Wild and a prequel, which focuses on the actual wars between Hyrule and Calamity Ganon. What a phenomenal idea. And I didn't really talk much about Age of Calamity when it was announced, mostly because I just didn't feel like there was much for me to talk about. The trailer was cool, but I didn't really want to make anything focused on it. But now that I played the demo for it, I've seen the cutscenes, and I'm like really diving into it. I'm really loving this game. Like, it's really good. And I'm just blown away by how well Koei Tecmo and Nintendo have collaborated on this game. The character designs are on point. I would love to know who did more of the character designing for this, if it was the Zelda team from Nintendo, if it was Koei Tecmo, or maybe they both kind of had their little inputs in on it. But either way, every character just nails that Breath of the Wild style, and it's just awesome. It's cool to see characters like the professors from the first game that were, the one guy was old and the other one turned herself into a little girl. To see them as their normal selves is really, really cool. And being able to play as the champions is a really awesome prospect. Now, obviously, you can't do that in the demo, which is a little unfortunate. I was kind of wishing that they would let me play as at least one champion, but it's okay. The demo definitely gives you your fill of the game, so you can see and get used to the mechanics and stuff. I love the way they designed this game. I love the way Zelda uses the Sheikah Slate abilities to fight, because she hasn't mastered her ability for magic yet. I love how all the characters have a Sheikah Slate that they can use that melds with their actual abilities. It's really good, very creative, and phenomenal. And I expect nothing less, honestly, after how good the first Hyrule Warriors was. But really, this video isn't so much about me wanting to talk about Hyrule Warriors as it is me wanting to talk about how awesome it is when Nintendo actually collaborates with these other studios to make these kinds of games. When they hand their IPs off to these other developers, and they can just put out some awesome shit. And really, this just makes me want to see more collaborations from Nintendo and other companies in the future. I mean, so far, Nintendo has been really nailing it with these collaborations. Hyrule Warriors was a shock when it came out on the Wii U. Nobody was really expecting a game like this. And I guess, in a way, the sequel was kind of a shock, too, because, I mean, we all knew that it was a successful game. It got a re-release on the Switch, so it's obviously successful, and it got a re-release on the Nintendo 3DS. So Hyrule Warriors was clearly a successful game. But I guess the sequel was a little bit surprising. Plus, they also did do that Fire Emblem one. They did Fire Emblem Warriors or whatever, but that one wasn't as well received, I feel like. I don't know, I didn't hear as much about that game. You mostly hear people talk about Hyrule Warriors over talking about the Fire Emblem one. But no matter what, there have been some really good games put out when Nintendo shares their licensing with other game developers and makes these really good games. Obviously, Mario plus Rabbids Kingdom Battle is another good example, done by Ubisoft. It's sort of like an XCOM style strategic shooting game with Mario characters, which just sounds absolutely ridiculous. You're like, does that fuck work? But it did work, and it worked really well. Really popular game. A lot of people really loved it. I myself have not played it, but those style of games aren't really my thing, so I just didn't see myself getting into it. But I can certainly see the prospect of it, and I can see that it's very, very well received and popular. It's definitely a cool game, and I like seeing Nintendo step out of the box and make these kinds of games a lot. They did have some other little collaborations where they did it with Star Fox, where they did that whole the Starlink Battle for Atlas thing. That was a Toys to Life game, and I guess that didn't really go over too well. I actually did play that game. I played the Star Fox stuff in it because I love Star Fox, and they were really, really fun. Just made me actually want a real Star Fox game after that abysmal mess that was Zero. But yet again, it just goes to show you that Nintendo can collaborate with these companies and make some really good stuff. Cadence of Hyrule is a good example. That's a really good game. Now, that was a collaboration with an indie studio, but still very, very cool to see Nintendo handing off their IPs to these other studios and letting them work with them and make some really awesome content, really awesome games. And it's something that I would like to see more. But I find it funny that Nintendo is comfortable enough to hand off these huge IPs like Mario and Zelda to other companies, but they don't really do anything with the absolute plethora of IPs that are just collecting fucking dust, and they do nothing with them. Imagine what they could do if they take some of their IPs that they don't use and hand them off to these other studios and let other studios collaborate with Nintendo and make cool games akin to Hyrule Warriors or Mario and Rabbids Kingdom Battle. Look at all the IPs that Nintendo's just sitting on that do absolutely fucking nothing. Star Fox is technically in that list now. F-Zero, Earthbound, Kid Icarus, Golden Sun, the list goes on. There's so many fucking games that Nintendo doesn't do anything with. It would be absolutely amazing if they could hand some of these games, these lesser used IPs, off to these other studios and have them collaborate on games to make something really, really cool. I would love to see that. I don't understand why Nintendo, they feel comfortable handing off Mario and Zelda, but they don't feel comfortable handing off something like F-Zero, which has been doing absolutely nothing for like 2 decades. It doesn't make any sense, and I would really just love to see them do that, to give these older IPs that get absolutely no attention, to just give them some limelight, put them back out there, and maybe start building a fan base up for them again. That's what I would like to see. And not just with IPs that are just wallowing away doing nothing, but also IPs that you don't see as much. Metroid is a good example. Donkey Kong. Those are 2 franchises that really don't see annual releases like Zelda and Mario. They have very much larger spaced out releases than, you know, Pokemon or Kirby or any of those games. So it would be really cool to see more collaborative games featuring those franchises. You know, Metroid, you could do a lot with Metroid. You could do a lot with Donkey Kong. Remember all those rumors about Metroid Dread all those years ago? Imagine a survival horror Metroid game. I mean, why not? It definitely has that fit already. They could totally get away with something like that. Imagine an action-adventure style Donkey Kong game. Rather than just a pure platformer, imagine if it was more akin to games like Darksiders or God of War. And I don't mean like a hack and slash necessarily, but if you had like a combo-based combat system where you can switch out Kongs and you explore big open areas with crazy puzzles and things that you can do. That kind of game. Like, imagine that, but with Donkey Kong. There's just so many possibilities that could be done if Nintendo collaborated with other studios with their lesser used IPs, and I think there's just a lot of really awesome game concepts that could be brought out that I would love to see. And Hyrule Warriors just really cements that for me, especially this one in particular, because of how well this game is connecting to Breath of the Wild. It's literally a prequel game to a completely Nintendo-developed Zelda game, which to me seems really risky for Nintendo to do that, to allow another studio to handle a game that's going to be taking place as an official prequel to their official Zelda game, it's just kind of mind-blowing for me. But if Nintendo has the balls to do something like that, then how come they can't take their other IPs and kind of throw them to these other studios and let them do some crazy things with them? Either way, I just wanted to get my thoughts out there for it. No crazy in-depth conversation, just kind of throwing it out there and throwing some ideas out there. What kind of interesting concepts do you have ideas for that could feature Nintendo IPs? You know, what kind of crazy crossover collaboration games would you like to see from Nintendo and another company? Why don't you let me know down in the comments below. If you really like this video, feel free to share it. Of course, give it a like, that helps out. If you really like this video, feel free to subscribe. I try to upload gaming videos once a week. I talk about all different stuff. I do focus a lot on Nintendo, but I'm trying to talk about other companies and other games that I really like. I actually just passed the 400 sub threshold, and I say it all the time, but man, am I blown away. I can't believe that my subscriber count keeps going up. I'm just really happy. I'm really happy to see so many people that enjoy watching my videos and listen to me ramble on about all this crap. I definitely have a lot of plans for this channel. I keep saying that in my videos, but I know I haven't really moved forward with a lot of them, but a lot of them are kind of big and really big steps for me. I have a lot of anxieties and things with videos, like appearing on camera and stuff like that. Stuff that I'm just trying to get over personally before I take that next step. So I'm just trying to kind of move as slow as I can, but at the same time, try to keep up a good pace. There's a lot of other things I want to talk about too on my channel, but I don't really know exactly how the subs that I have currently would feel about particular things. Nothing absolutely ridiculously crazy. Of course, I love video games, and that's really the core focus of my channel, but I also love tabletop gaming and movies and all kinds of stuff, and I would really like to talk about really any of those things. So I'm just kind of curious, I guess, any of you that make it to the end of the video, I guess let me know down in the comments, like, would you like to see videos on tabletop games? I enjoy Dungeons and Dragons, I play Warhammer, I like all sorts of stuff. So I mean, if you're interested in any of those subjects, I guess let me know down below. Let me know if you would be interested in me starting video series on any of that stuff as well as video games. Of course, I'll never stop talking about video games because I love video games, and that's the core content of my channel. But yeah, feel free to let me know down in the comments if you are particularly interested in any of those things that I talked about. But again, if you made it to the end of this video, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. That's definitely unique amongst people because according to my YouTube studio, not a lot of people watch to the ends of my videos. So, thank you very much. I hope you stay safe out there. I hope you have a wonderful day. Thank you, and bye-bye.